Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on how to create content that actually converts. Now, in this particular session, what I'm going to do, or this webinar, what I'm going to do is share some of the experiences that I have gathered over a period of time and see how we can apply it to your situation. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ram Raghavan. I am the founder of Riddlebox Content Smart Hub and founding fellow of ISP. I am going to be talking about the challenges business owners, content creators, or marketing managers have when it comes to creating content. I'm going to give you a bit of background before I start diving into the presentation. I have actually worked across industries from various roles, starting from production to manufacturing to R&D to sales, managing countries, new market entry, and so on and so forth. And I've also been a consultant for almost 25 odd years, where I was fortunate enough to work with some big names like Hilton, Volvo, Tesco, EDF, Dyson, and so on and so forth. I have developed a series of tools that help companies improve performance and productivity by focusing on strategy, customers, or employees. So that's me and my background and what I've been doing so far. Now, I have been doing this for almost 25 odd years, as I mentioned. But then I decided to take a change in direction on how I actually start offering what I currently offer to my clients. Instead of working as a consultant, I wanted to use all the knowledge that I gained and created tools and AI driven solutions that can be used by companies to specifically identify and address specific challenges. It was all well and good, and I could actually do a conversation, sales conversation, and convert people in a consulting scenario. But then, when it came to the question of selling a tech solution or a tech platform, where A, you don't see your buyers or don't get an opportunity to interact with your buyers that often, and there is so much of noise out there, how do you then stand out? That is what I'm going to talk about today. Now, we all write content. And I was actually, when I started moving away from consulting to the tech offering, I spent quite a bit of money to invest in and understand what I can do differently so that I can go and talk to people. Invariably, I was, pointed to the direction of increase your brand presence, increase your presence on social media. Now, I was a bit confused. How do you do that? How do you increase? Because there's so much of content that comes and all that. So I did like what everyone does. I started creating content. I started creating content, created more content, and I posted it. But then I didn't have the right kind of conversation. I didn't have conversions. I didn't have issues that people came to me with seeking a solution. So it was getting frustrating for me. And I'm sure a lot of people in this call who are business owners face some kind of a scenario similar to this. You are writing, you have wealth of experience, and you want to share that, and you want to actually help other companies experience your knowledge and come up with a solution. But unfortunately, social media is so unforgiving. The content that gets posted, A, does not get traction, B, does not hit the right audience, and so on and so forth. So when I did that, and I realized, you know what? I need to change because madness is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. I am mad, but I thought, let me just take a step back and start looking at what I could do and what I could do differently. So let's start with content. Everyone is posting these days, isn't it? And with ChatGPT coming into play, or Perplexity or Gemini, whichever you are using, you are spitting out content like nobody's business. And the volume of content has increased, but few people are getting results. Have you noticed that if you post your content on a social media platform, take your eyes off and come back, you will be amazed to see the number of new posts that have come since that time frame. So there's a lot of content that is out for people. So knowledge is free now, information is free, but it is not having the right kind of impact. So I mentioned earlier, output has gone through the roof, but outcomes have actually come down. It doesn't keep pace. So when you look at it, where have we gone wrong? We have gone wrong because we have not thought through the content creation from a strategic perspective. Rather than say we, I would say I didn't think through that. I said, okay, when I heard people say you should expose your expertise to people, I started writing content, started doing webinars and so many other things without a clear strategy. So that is where I thought I should start. Then the second question, when you start looking at it from a strategic perspective, is the question that you ask. Okay, you are creating content, but who are you designing it for? When I started creating content, I was talking to the 1 billion people on LinkedIn. And I'm sure a lot of us do that. So it is not surprising that our voice gets drowned in the sea of posts that we all get to experience. So the first thing I did was look at creating a few personas or ideal customer profile where I started looking at who is my potential target, what is their role, what are the maturity levels, what are their emotional triggers, what are the pain points, and then started creating a picture of who they are. I created multiple client personas or customer personas. Now, if you're operating in a B2B scenario, it could also be an ideal company profile. So you can start looking at what companies do you want to work with or you have worked with and use that to build that. Now, that gives clarity, number one, which basically gets you to write or create content for them. The next question is okay, you're creating content, you're sharing knowledge, but you need to have a goal. What do you want to achieve as a result of posting that content? What do you want to achieve as a result of posting that video or that tweet or that webinar or that, uh, you know, carousel? What do you really want to achieve? That's the next question. We need to find an answer. And that's what I did. Then, if you look at B2B, B2C, you can actually talk to your end users straight away. But in B2B, it's a complex buying environment. And I remember reading somewhere that 70% of your sales decisions are taken before someone reaches out to other companies to participate. People constantly experience the buyers, the sellers, the experience is shaped through content, through interactions, even before the need surfaces. And in a typical B2B scenario, you have the end user, you have the people who influence, you have the economic buyers, then you have coaches who actually can help you, for your supporters, and so on and so forth. So when you're creating your ideal customer profile for a B2B customer, you need to start thinking about each of these as a persona so that when you start posting content, you then are clear as to what you're going to do. So if it's an end user, you talk about, let's say you're creating a widget. So for an end user, you talk about what is that widget going to do for them? How is it going to help them? For an influencer, basically an influencer is someone who's not an end user but can actually influence the decision. You try to understand what pain would that message address for the influencer. So the widget could actually help the end users save more time, which has a potential impact of why on the influencer's time. And then from an economic buyer perspective, what is it going to cost? From a value perspective, what is the investment that is required? You can talk about that. So when you talk about your ideal customer profile with clarity on what you want to achieve, and when you start writing content, it then becomes much more easier. Now, what I quickly realized is posting is not equal to pipeline. I'm sure we all see a lot of people post one or two pieces of content, and then when you connect with them, immediately they start saying, "Oh, this is what it is. Can we have a conversation?" The quick realization that I had was social media is social, and then media. Let me expand on that. Social is where we connect and invest in relationships with people. Media is the content that we use to influence or uh, entertain or educate our audience so that we can start building positive relationships. Of course, if you're selling a B2B or a tech product, it's about building trust so that they can actually go and start purchasing things after the relationship or enough trust levers are established, and so on and so forth. Now, when you look at creating content, everyone creates content, but without a clear strategy, without a clear objective, you cannot create content that hits the right notes. We all love stories, don't we? So we need to actually have our content tell a story. It should have a clear arc. It should not be noise. We should clearly follow a set pattern of frameworks that we use consistently to appeal to our audience. Now, the other thing that I also noticed was you are trying to create a post where you are trying to talk to your end user in a B2B scenario. So you're talking about the problems it can solve, how it will help the end users. And there you can't have a call to action which says, buy from me, because the end user does not have the power to buy. So there the call to action should be recommend this or share this with people who would benefit by this. So that way you are influencing them to share the content to influencers who can see the value behind it. If you're creating something for an influencer, then you actually write something which is very specific and addresses their pain point rather than just go and sell. So your intent has to match with what you're asking for, what you're writing about. The third thing is people expect miracles. We live in an age, social media is also to be blamed. We look for instant gratification. We want to get things done yesterday. We want results yesterday. And we start posting with a lot of vigor. But when we don't get the result, we get bored, we get disillusioned. So there are people, I mean, I was one of them, where I would have the resolve to post a lot and be consistent. So I would start on week one, post, post, post. Week two, post, post. Week three, post. Week four, post. Week five, life has stepped in. So that inconsistent momentum actually impacts the algorithm of social media, which means it sees that you're not someone who knows your subject, not I'm not saying that it does that, but there is an algorithm which gets triggered which is directly linked to your cadence, right? And of what I would love to say, or what I would say is, I am not a marketing social media expert. I am just sharing my experience and what worked for me, right? So, this is another thing. When you don't post regularly, that has an impact. So, better to post 2 times a week, but be consistent rather than post 40 and then nothing the next week. Now, there is also no clear plan. So when people click or view your profile, what are you expecting them to do? Are you expecting to read the article and then from there go and view your profile, have something there which then becomes appetizing so that they click and then they connect with you, and then you actually then have a DM or a direct message, and which then have you nurture it over a period of time and have a meeting. So you need to actually have a clear line of sight as to what you need to be doing with every posting. And this is another thing. As small business owners, or we actually wear multiple hats. As SME owners, we wear multiple hats. And we are actually trying to promote and position our brand, our company, ourselves. So we try to become more perfect. We try to refine. So sometimes when you actually get to that stage, you get overwhelmed. That actually spills over. So if you're employing an external agency, your time to get content back and forth, refined, reduced, redacted, and finally, by the time it's ready to get revealed, it takes a lot of time. And that then impacts your cadence. That impacts your consistency. That impacts all the other things that you need to actually have in place. So when you're posting, be mindful of what you're doing. Please follow this. And this is what I did. Now, when I background, or because I love frameworks, I like to reduce it to some simple things that people can use. I actually started looking at, okay, what am I doing here? What can I share with people who are in a scenario or a similar situation like me so that they can start applying this? So I created a 3-step process. Now, the first step is to raise awareness. I mean, this is not new, it's already there. So, but what I see is the first thing is awareness. So, if you are going into social media and if you're publishing, if first thing is people should be aware of who you are, because without awareness, you're just going to vaporize in the ether of social media or LinkedIn or Facebook for that matter. So, you start focusing on step one is build your awareness, build your brand, ensure that you are seen by the right people and it is relevant. You need to, I mean, there's no point in actually you getting seen by 1 billion people who are not your potential target customers. So if you are earning impressions, ensure that it is with the right audience. So if you are coming in front of your audience more and more and more, that then starts breeding familiarity. So when that happens, it will trigger them or you to say, okay, these are people who I need to be connecting. And when you post content, generally, if it is good content and it has reached the right audience, they might go and check out your post. They might check out your article. So when you see their profile, if you see that it is the right kind of profile that you are focusing on, connect with them. Then have the what you call shape their experience and perception and preferences based on the insight that you can provide. Then the third thing is once you connect with them, then start talking about conversion. So easy. See, what social media does is it allows you to straight away connect with people. But when you connect with people without them being aware or then considering what you can offer and them being part of your group of people who could benefit from your expertise, conversion becomes a challenge, right? So that is why we have got a lot of people we are all connected on social media. We are not invested in building relationships. As I mentioned earlier, we need to start building relationships. Don't expect a sale to happen the very next day or within two conversations. You need, just like how you need to meet a cold calling prospect multiple times to allow them to see who you are, allow them to trust your capabilities, give them the opportunity to show that you really understand their problem and value your input. Then conversion happens, right? In real world. So why should it be different in social media? So if you are actually doing this, start thinking about creating conversations that qualify and progress. Be gentle. Start offering front load value. Demonstrate your power, your authority by offering something for free or getting people to try something. Do an audit. Share expertise that you have as a Word document. Create you know, a workshop, 1 hour workshop, 2 hour workshop. So people start getting value. Once they start getting value, once they start realizing the impact you can have, or the impact your feedback or your program or your tool provides to them in their business, then it becomes easy to qualify and progress the conversation. So the three steps are awareness, consideration, and conversion. So that's what we need to focus on. So when you talk about awareness, what can you do to raise awareness? We actually have a strategic pathway. So I presume that it is a given. From there, you then say, okay, how do I raise my profile? It's what you call as becoming an authority on the topic. On your, it could be either building your own personal brand or it could be building your organizational brand and building all the other things around it. What we call as the halo effect of your brand, which gives and raises your profile. And then the second thing is, how are you going to distribute it? That's what you need to look at. Because for your particular target audience, there might be a specific time that would work well. Don't blindly follow the advice of people saying, oh, you need to post between 8 to 9 on LinkedIn, 3 to 4 on Twitter, or whatever. Will your potential audience be around that time to actually see that? So you need to start thinking like that. As a potential end user or client, what times would I be able to be on that platform for me to see? And another thing that I've seen is people create a lot of content and they post it once and then it vanishes. The sad thing is, because social media is so noisy, if you post once and it vanishes, all the good work done is gone. Start thinking about reposting, repositioning the same post at different times. So that will also help you understand when and where your posts get more attention, more traction. You can actually identify the channel, the time, and so on and so forth for your target audience. When you talk about consideration, now you are in front of your potential client. What can you do differently to show that you're different? Build social proof. So, this is what you have done with clients. Provide content or lead magnets or advice or workshops for people to experience who you are. And this one, what I would say is where people start looking at, okay, I can see where he is or she is coming from, the authority that they have. And yes, they actually can understand and empathize with my problem and can help me get over my problem more specifically because they worked with A, who's kind of this, B, who's done this. this looks like an ideal fit. Then you actually have the conversation. In the conversation, because by the time you have the conversation, they have experienced you, they have experienced what you can do, they resonate with what you offer. So, in the conversation, try and listen empathetically and then create offers or provide call to action if you're not going to be interacting. That creates a sequence of actions. If you're talking to them via DMs, if you're not actually having a face to face conversation, nurture the conversation. And then when they actually come into your system, your CRM, or whatever system you're using, how do you ensure that you actually move them from point A to point Z or Z, depending on where you are, very smoothly and effectively without pushing them by giving them the right kind of insights? So that's what you need to start considering. So when I talk about awareness, what can you do? You could actually identify 3 or 5 narrative pillars that you can use. And they could be A, you can talk about a specific pain point. Like, for example, I could say content creation is a problem and a pain for a lot of small business owners, but they have so much to say, but they don't have the time or energy to spend time to create content. Or they spend a lot of money on social media, but they are not sure of the impact or the business that is coming back as a result. Or I could say within a team, the time actually spent creating content can be spent doing the actual marketing activity, which can in turn convert into potential sales. So by saving that, that is a frustration. So I can talk about that. Myth busting can be something, people who post consistent, write for algorithms get the maximum number of views. It could be a myth. It could be reality. But what I would say is pick something that people believe to be true and then try and give an argument as to why it is or it isn't the case. Most probably it should be it isn't the case. You could pick up a management framework or a structured framework or a mini framework and talk about it. Talk about case studies and your perspectives because people love to know what you are. And that's a nice way to share your expertise. For example, we actually post something called strategic insights and practical insights about a specific problem. I start talking about it from a very strategic perspective to show that I understand the big picture. And in the practical insights post, we say this is exactly the problem, that this is what you can do today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, not the day after tomorrow, what you can do now. So it is a very, very, very practical way of doing this. So by providing your expertise, your perspectives, your point of view, you actually start raising the awareness. And in our experience, what we have seen is carousels, short videos, polls, and contrarian takes. Like if someone says something, going and saying something literally opposite actually creates a lot of noise, a lot of impressions, right? So that is what we would suggest. And how are you going to distribute? Are you going to actually work with, you know, content creators who can then do it? Do you have an in-house team? Are you going to post it in a community? What time? Will keywords, hashtags work? Yes, all these things are good. But what I would also say is focus on solving a real business problem for a client. And don't try to write for the algorithm because social media can change the algorithm anytime they want. It is the quality of content that will get you in front of your target audience. So always keep that in mind. Will it actually help my target audience achieve or solve the problem that they face? If you can do that, then that's a great starting point, and that will build awareness. Now, one thing I believe in measuring anything and everything. My PhD was about quantifying the value of people. So for me, I would really look at creating one or two metrics that really show that you are having an impact. So when you talk of awareness, I would talk about how many people have you reached and how many impressions. When I say impressions, again, with relevance, have you achieved with your target audience? Those are the metrics that I would use. Then, once you do this, then the next bit is consideration, where you start turning reach into relationships. There are so many people who offer LinkedIn profile optimization. Go and use them. Seek their expertise because they are experts. They can help you refine your profile. So when I see what you are doing and then when I come into your landing page, there's nothing that is appealing. I'm not going to be buying anything from you, right? But if I come to a landing page where I say, oh, you've won so many awards, you've done this, you've written books, you've got this, you've got a newsletter, you've got 7,000 followers. This is what your offer is. It's a clear offer. There's a clear call to action. The chances are I would actually connect with you, right? So profile optimization is one of the things that you need to look at. Then there's got to be a connection strategy, right? Connect with 10, 20 people per day. And I say 10 to 20 people, it is not Tom, Dick, and Harry. I'm sorry if there are some Tom, Dick, and Harry. It is not meant to offend, but ensure that you talk to or connect with your ideal customer profiles, right? Then, how are you going to nurture them? Probably by commenting on what they have already posted. That's one. Or you can say, you've done this, I've done this, plus have you got this? Have you thought about this? And we can also start talking about case studies where you did this and this is what happened. This is what the customer said. Testimonials. All these things can help you nurture the consideration aspect. And then track how many people have actually who you connected at, or before connecting visited your profile. How many people have connected with you? How many people have actually shared and saved what you've said? That's what you would. Then comes the conversation bit. So I know who you are. I've connected with you. I've experienced your content. I know what you're doing. How do I then get them into the conversation? The first five messages you need to trigger. You need to have, understand what are the trigger moments and how do you respond to those trigger moments. So people, if you post a poll, people comment on the poll, you can start the conversation there. If people comment on your article, go and comment there. You could actually, link with people who clicked on your profile. Have a you came to my profile, intrigued what really made you visit my profile. You can start that. Then, how do you reach out to them? Give them a context. I saw this. This is what I did. This is what I love about what you say because people love to hear about themselves even if it is coming from others. So start with that. And I see a lot of things here. So this is what I would love to do. Can we connect? And when people connect, then you start having other bits like don't connect and then say, hey, this is what I sell, this is what I can do, can we have a conversation? No. Nurture the conversation, build that relationship, invest time and effort. Ask them, are they working on anything interesting? Are they doing something that is challenging them? Has anything moved in their personal or professional life that has made them look at things in a different way? If people love to talk, and if you give them the opportunity, ask them these questions, they will start conversing. Start those conversations, engage with them. If they've posted a video, go and look at the video, comment on it, make some relevant comments. So you actually start engaging and building that warmth, trust, and empathy. Once you are comfortable, then probably offer your solution in one in five conversations, probably pepper it. Offer some 10-minute screen shares or free build, an audit or checklist or whatever. Say, this is what I've created. I'm not sure if this is going to help you. Or this is a newsletter that I have written for this would be good if you can subscribe if it helps you. That kind of a thing. So you can do that. Again, go back and track. track how many people have views responded, how many have they responded. So that gives you an idea. Now, people who respond, you can then start looking at their profile. Pick the profiles of people who responded to you and you're having conversation. Take that, put it on ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity, and then ask it to analyze the profile to create an ideal customer persona. So you can actually go back and start refining the persona that you need to be engaging with. More and more you do it, the better you get at what you're doing. And you can then start targeting and reaching out to the right audience. Look at how many calls were booked, how many people signed up for a trial, and so on and so forth. Numbers. Numbers you need to track, right? So you need to make success observable. So when it comes to awareness, start about impressions, unique reach, saves, shares. When it comes to consideration, how many people viewed your profiles, how many connections you had, how many people opted for your newsletter, trial, webinar, whatever. Conversation, how many people responded to your DMs, how many calls were booked, how many trials happened. And of course, cadence, which we spoke earlier. Go back and look at what is happening every week. Has it gone up? Has the number of impressions gone up? Is your target audience refining more and more? Are you reaching the right kind of people? How many impressions are there? How many shares are there? What type of post is actually working? So you can then start looking at this and start building a very clear plan to ensure that your content reaches the right people and triggers the right emotions. Now I know when I talk about all this, people say, "Oh, we tried all that," and and yes, but it's a very, very, very you know uh, sensitive word because when you say but, it wipes out anything and everything that you have done before. Welcome to. Let me give you an example. I'll say, "Welcome to Harry Potter world." You can actually experience the butterbeer here, amazing rides. You can meet some characters. You can test the props. But what happens? You're starting to think, what? So, but and means there is something that you have done which is not right. Why did it stall? You know, People post for months, but as I told you earlier, they didn't have a strategy. There is no coherence. They don't have a story to say and link people emotionally with that story. They don't build relationships with the content. Facts tell, so stories sell. So there is no coherence. There is no story there. So people post for months, but nothing happens. And that's why it's stalled. People say, oh, we don't have time. We tried all this, but there's no time for us to create content. No, post once a week. Comment 3 times a week, but be consistent. And if you do that, you can't say no time. The time we actually spend thumbing down social media or the doom scrolling, I heard on an average, we scroll down or up the size of the height of the Empire State Building on our phones. So if you have time to scroll that much, can you not spend 5, 10 minutes doing something which is very simple? Oh, I did a lot of things, but people are not responding. Maybe your offer is not clear or it's weak. There is no clear call to action. You're actually asking the wrong thing with the wrong person. Have you thought about that? Probably that's why it's stalled. So it is easy to say, no, it is not working. And I went through all this and I have learned and refined. Now, when I started, my post impressions were 10 to 50 impressions a week or 100 maximum. This is, I'm posting loads of content, right? But it was not reaching out to the right kind of audience. Now, with a clear view, my post impressions on an average goes anywhere between 2000 to 3000 impressions. Now I can hear people say, "Oh, that's nothing. Oh, my one post generates that." But but the 2000 impressions is 63% of that is with my target audience, right? That is what is important. And in the last 3 months, I have connected and has started having conversations with, I mean, the connection is more than 2000 people. I launched a newsletter and I got more than 500 people subscribing for it. So you can see that if you are focused, know who you want to talk to, you can get there. Now I am in the conversion bit where I am talking to people and getting them to do things or try out things for my solution or my product and service. So that's where I am. So for people who say, oh, it's all difficult, start with a 15-minute workout or plan your social media activity 15 minutes a day. Pick one ideal client profile that you want to focus on. Three jobs, if it's a B2B scenario, three jobs. And what are the things that they actually are trying to do and what is preventing them from that? For your ideal customer persona, look at that. Create one awareness hook, one consideration asset, and one DM opener. Choose one metric that you want to follow for the next 7 days. Now, let me give that with an example because I might have just, you know, said something which probably has glazed over I mean, people have glazed over. So I'm explaining it. So an ideal customer profile for me is an SME founder, right? And of course, I go deeper than this, but I'm just for the purpose of this exercise, it's an SME founder, marketing director, charity CEO, or an agency owner. Things they are trying to achieve they are trying to produce consistent content, they're trying to generate leads or grow their brand. What's preventing them? The blocker. They don't have time. They don't know what to post, or they have too many platforms to manage, right? One awareness hook. Awareness hook is just a short, punchy statement. So, say you're losing 41% visibility because your posting is inconsistent. This appeals to my business owners, right? I can say 70% or 80% of the time spent on content creation can be automated with relevant AI tools that appeals to marketing managers and agencies. Tracking something, showing a result could and should raise your attention profile in front of your customer. So they should start looking at it. Oh, he knows what he's talking about, or she knows what she's talking about. A consideration asset is nothing but an education asset. You educate with value. You can actually have a carousel which says, how can SMEs create a month of worth of content in 30 minutes? Now, what would you say if you connect with someone? People say, hey, hi, how are you? Thanks for connecting. What's happening? So, you could say something like this. Or you can say, hi, Sarah, great to be connected. Super excited to be part of your ecosystem. What challenges are you working on currently? Love to know more, right? That's a simple conversation that you have with someone who you are meeting for the first time. Assume that you are meeting them in a party for the first time. How would you speak to them? Use that framework of thought process or use that mindset to then start creating DMs. One metric, how many DMs did you send? How many demos you booked? How many posts you published? You can choose one. And this is 15 minutes. You said that. And then next week, what you can do is you can start with one pillar. Pick one pillar that you want to focus on the next 30 days, right? Then create 3 awareness posts, one consideration asset, and 10 warm DM messages, right? Then book a working session for 1 or 2 hours where you just focus on building your 30-day plan. So you know what you need to be doing. You've prepped your mind. See, the thing is, you can trick your mind to get to do things that are more complex by starting off with smaller things and then gradually increasing the pace or the tempo or the intensity. It's like that boiling frog experiment, right? So when you start with the 15 minute, you've done something, so you know what you're talking about. Then you move into the week, and then you start doing that a bit more. Then you start building it in a way that it makes sense for you. So when you build a 30-day plan, then you start rolling out. You can then plan it by the week. I'm just giving this as an example, but it need not be this case. But you can see this. So this is what you would do in week one, and week two, this is what you would do. Week three, you would do this. Week four, you do this. So you've done this. Now you have metrics around it. You have things, focus. This is for awareness. Once you have this, what are you going to do for raising consideration? What are you then going to do for having conversations and conversions? So you start building this. It's always important to start small. 5 is better than 1, 1 is better than 0. And the time to start is now. So start small and then learn from it. You can then scale. Don't try to build an amazing system, the perfect system, because nothing exists that is perfect. Fail, learn, relearn, implement, learn, relearn. That way, you can get to your goals faster. So, this is something that you could think of, creating 3 awareness posts, 2 consideration sets, and 1 outreach. Spend 15 minutes, every day commenting on others' posts. Send 10 to 20 invites, 5 warm DMs to people who have connected with you. Once a month, talk about a case or have a workshop or talk about a pillar. And then next month, saying, this month we're going to be focusing on this, and refresh that. And in our experience, what we have seen is these are the things that actually work when to raise your awareness and to get people talking. Polls. When you actually create a poll, people actually respond, DM them, thank them, and then say, this is what you do. What is it that you do? Ask the questions, warm them up, have the conversations. Remember, party, you're meeting someone for the first time, what will you ask? Go from there. The other one is carousels, where you can actually use it as a lead magnet. Educate them using mini case studies or some facts or frameworks. Use that to actually see what, create a clear call to action. Get people to follow that. Once they download, have a conversation with them, thank them, nurture them, then move from there. The other one which you've seen is comment ladder. Like when you actually see some people who you follow, who you respect, they post something, you write something, or you comment on that, the number of impressions goes up, because when they respond to your comment, which means your comment has to be sensible, then the number of people who see your post, your profile goes up. That's another way to do it. And tap into profiles that are, considered as influencers, key influencers, and then see how you can work with them, co-brand, co-create. There are so many ways to do this. And that is what actually works. So if you want to move from quiet feed to book calendars, you need to start low, start uh, posting consistently, stop being inconsistent. Focus on some pillars, have a clear DM sequence, and review it every week to see what worked, what did not work, what did we learn, what have we not learned, what can be done to improve. And when you make a change, make one change. Don't change the entire thing. Then you will not know what was the one that caused the problem or what was the one that moved the needle, right? Have some targets and then say, this week I had this. Next week, my target is I want to increase the number of impressions by 4 times. Or I want to increase my profile view by this much. Or I want to increase the number of booked calls by this much. By having this, you can start moving. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And for people who attended this session, I know this content creation is a very, very, very challenging thing. And you, as a business owner, you are doing multiple things and trying to wear multiple hats. So what I did was I actually created a platform to create content that is sensible. Of course, I would say that, isn't it? But don't take my word for it. If you want to test out my content creation platform, which is multi format, which means it generates text, tweets, videos, images, and even podcasts for multiple platforms, from LinkedIn to Twitter to YouTube to Reddit to threads to tweets. It generates it and it also schedules it. So it saves a lot of time by getting the heavy lifting off your back and taking it in its full. So if you are keen or curious to know more about it, just type the word I am interested in the comment or reach out to me on my email that you see on the screen. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the session. Speak to you soon.